The HMS Resolve emerged from warp space into the orbit of Zalara. Commodore Nathaniel Nate Harper, his gaze steely and composed, stood on the bridge. Around him, his crew moved with practiced efficiency, each person well aware of the high stakes of this mission. "All systems are stable, Commodore," reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Briggs, her voice calm but alert. Nate nodded, his mind already on the diplomatic encounter ahead. "We're here to establish peace," Nate reminded his team. "But we need to be prepared for any eventuality. Maintain readiness and stay vigilant." The humans' arrival had not gone unnoticed. A flotilla of Xylarian ships approached, their sleek, dark hulls reflecting the cold light of their sun. On the view screen, the face of Commander Zarnak, the Xylarian leader, appeared. His eyes, narrow and distrustful, scanned Nate with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Welcome to Zalara, humans," Zarnak said, his tone measured. "We hope your intentions align with your words." Nate responded with a diplomatic smile. "We seek cooperation and mutual benefit. Let's work together to ensure a prosperous future for both our species." The initial meeting was held aboard the Xylarian flagship, an imposing vessel bristling with weaponry. Nate and his team were escorted through corridors lined with alien soldiers, their expressions stoic. The negotiation chamber was vast, dominated by a large table and surrounded by holographic displays of Xylarian achievements. Zarnak began the talks with formal pleasantries, but the atmosphere was tense. Nate's diplomatic skills were tested as he navigated the conversation, emphasizing shared interests and downplaying differences. Despite his efforts, he sensed underlying hostility. During a break, Sarah approached Nate. "We've intercepted communications suggesting the Xylarians might not be as open to peace as they claim," she whispered. "They're discussing tactical positions and fleet movements." Nate's eyes hardened. "Keep monitoring their channels discreetly. We need more evidence before we act." As the negotiations resumed, Nate maintained his calm facade. Yet, behind the scenes, his fleet prepared for a potential confrontation. Defensive protocols were activated, and tactical simulations were run. The crew, seasoned veterans, understood the unspoken command: "Be ready." Zarnak's demeanor grew increasingly rigid as the talks progressed. Nate pushed for cooperation, proposing joint ventures in technology and resource sharing. However, Zarnak's responses were evasive, his eyes betraying a hidden agenda. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the human fleet. Nate's communicator crackled to life. "Commodore, we've detected energy spikes in the Xylarian ships. They're powering up weapons." Nate's voice was steady. "Raise shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers. Inform all ships to go on high alert." On the Xylarian flagship, Zarnak's facade of diplomacy crumbled. "You should have known better than to trust us so easily," he sneered. "Prepare to surrender your ships." Nate met Zarnak's gaze unflinchingly. "You underestimate us, Commander." The battle erupted with ferocity. Xylarian ships opened fire, their energy beams slicing through the void. But the human fleet was ready. Nate's tactical brilliance came into play as he directed his ships with precision. Defensive formations shifted seamlessly, absorbing and deflecting the initial onslaught. "Return fire," Nate commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. The HMS Resolve and its sister ships unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes and laser fire, their advanced technology countering the Xylarian assault effectively. The bridge of the HMS Resolve was a hive of activity, each officer performing their duties with practiced efficiency. Sarah, at the tactical station, coordinated defensive maneuvers, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Target their propulsion systems. We need to disable their mobility." Nate's strategy paid off. Human ships executed precise strikes, crippling the Xylarian fleet's movements. Zarnak's forces, caught off guard by the humans' preparedness, faltered. In the thick of the battle, Nate received a priority transmission from his intelligence officer. "Commodore, we've intercepted a communication. It appears the Xylarians were manipulated by a third party, an unknown alien race seeking to instigate this conflict." Nate's mind raced. Get me all the data we have on this new threat. This changes everything. The tide of battle turned decisively in favor of the humans. Xylarian ships, disabled and outmaneuvered, were forced into retreat. Zarnak, his bravado shattered, attempted one final act of defiance. This isn't over, human. We will regroup and… Nate cut him off. You won't get the chance. Stand down now or face complete annihilation. Zarnak, realizing the futility of resistance, grudgingly ordered his forces to cease fire. The human fleet secured a hard-earned victory, but Nate's thoughts were already on the larger threat revealed by the intercepted transmission. The HMS Resolve floated in orbit, its crew still reeling from the recent battle. Commodore Nate Harper stood at the helm, eyes scanning the damage reports. His mind was focused on the new intelligence about the mysterious third party manipulating the conflict. The data pointed to the Drakari, a reclusive and powerful race known for their clandestine operations. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Briggs approached Nate, her face etched with concern. The repairs are underway, but it will take some time before we're fully operational again, she reported. Nate nodded. We need to be ready for whatever comes next. Gather the senior staff for a briefing. The meeting convened in the ship's war room, a place of strategic importance where countless battles had been planned. Nate's officers were seasoned professionals, each bringing their own expertise to the table. The holographic display illuminated the room with a detailed map of the nearby star systems. We've identified the source of the intercepted signals, Nate began. It's coming from a system just beyond our current position. The Drakari are involved, and their motives are far from clear. Sarah leaned forward, studying the map. If the Drakari are behind this, we need to understand their objectives. They've always been shadowy operators, never engaging directly unless there's something significant at stake. Nate agreed. Our priority is to uncover their intentions and prevent any further escalation. We can't allow another surprise attack. As they strategized, the ship's communications officer, Ensign Daniels, interrupted. Commodore, we're receiving a distress signal from a nearby colony. It's under attack. Nate's jaw tightened. Set a course immediately. We can't ignore this. The HMS Resolve accelerated towards the colony, its engines pushing the limits. Upon arrival, they were met with a scene of devastation. The colony was being overrun by Drakari drones, their cold, metallic forms laying waste to everything in sight. All hands to battle stations, Nate commanded. We need to protect those civilians. The crew sprang into action. Laser cannons and torpedoes lit up the void as the Resolve engaged the enemy drones. Despite the chaos, Nate's leadership kept the crew focused and effective. They fought with precision, targeting key vulnerabilities in the drones' formations. Sarah coordinated the ground efforts, deploying squads to defend the colony. Her tactical acumen and quick thinking saved countless lives as they repelled wave after wave of attackers. The bond between the crew and their commander was evident, each member trusting in their shared mission. During a lull in the fighting, Sarah's team discovered a central control node used by the Drakari to coordinate the attack. Nate saw an opportunity. If we take out that node, we can disrupt their entire operation here. With Sarah leading the ground assault, they pushed towards the control node. The fighting was fierce, but the human soldiers' determination and strategic prowess outmatched the relentless drones. Sarah's leadership shone as she navigated through the battlefield, her team executing maneuvers with precision. They reached the control node, heavily guarded by advanced Drakari sentries. Sarah formulated a plan, combining diversion tactics and concentrated firepower. The battle was intense, but they managed to breach the defenses and disable the node. The effect was immediate. The drones faltered and collapsed, their control severed. Back on the Resolve, Nate monitored the victory with a mixture of relief and anticipation. This skirmish had revealed the Drakari's hand, but their ultimate goal remained hidden. As they assisted the colony's survivors, Nate knew their mission was far from over. Good work, everyone, he said, addressing his crew. We've dealt a blow to the Drakari, but we need to stay vigilant. There's more to uncover, and we must be ready for whatever comes next. In the aftermath, the humans and the Xylarians worked side by side, rebuilding and fortifying the colony. The alliance, born from necessity, began to strengthen as they shared knowledge and resources. Trust, though fragile, started to form. Nate and Sarah stood together, watching the collaborative efforts. "We've taken a step forward," Sarah remarked. "But the Drakari won't stop here." Nate's gaze hardened. "No, they won't. But neither will we. We'll uncover their plans and put an end to their schemes. Together, we're stronger." The HMS Resolve and its fleet floated near the recovered colony, the aftermath of the battle against the Drakari drones leaving an uneasy silence. Commodore Nate Harper stood on the bridge, analyzing the new data. The Drakari's intentions were now a pressing concern, their shadowy machinations suggesting a larger scheme at play. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Briggs approached Nate, her expression determined. "Commodore, we've decoded more of the intercepted Drakari communications. It seems they're planning a larger offensive. Their next target is likely one of our critical supply routes." Nate's eyes narrowed. "We need to intercept them before they can strike again. Plot a course for the supply route. We'll set a trap." The fleet moved swiftly, engines humming with purpose as they sped towards the anticipated Drakari target. In the war room, Nate and his senior officers devised a plan. The Drakari were cunning, but the humans' tactical expertise and technological prowess gave them a fighting chance. As they neared the supply route, sensors detected a Drakari fleet lying in wait. Nate ordered the ships to spread out, forming a defensive perimeter. "Prepare for engagement," he commanded. "We'll catch them off guard." The Drakari ships, sleek and menacing, emerged from their concealment, their weapons charged. The Resolve and its allies launched a coordinated assault, energy beams and torpedoes lighting up the blackness of space. Nate directed the battle with precision, his strategic mind calculating every move. Sarah, manning the tactical station, called out, "Drakari ships are focusing their fire on our lead frigates. We need to draw their attention away." "Execute Delta maneuver," Nate ordered. The human ships shifted formation, creating a diversion that split the Drakari forces. The tactic worked, scattering the enemy and weakening their assault. Amid the chaos, a Drakari command ship targeted the Resolve. Nate's eyes locked onto the approaching threat. "Focus all fire on that ship. We need to take it down." The Resolve and its escorts unleashed a torrent of firepower, battering the Drakari command vessel. The enemy ship retaliated, its weapons tearing through the void. The battle raged fiercely, but the combined efforts of the human fleet began to turn the tide. In a critical moment, Sarah identified a vulnerability in the Drakari ship's defenses. "Their power core is exposed. We can disable them with a well-placed strike." "Target the power core," Nate ordered. "Fire on my mark." The crew worked in unison, aligning their weapons with the exposed core. "Mark!" Nate shouted. A barrage of torpedoes and laser beams converged on the target, breaching the Drakari ship's defenses and causing a catastrophic explosion. The command ship disintegrated, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. With their command ship destroyed, the remaining Drakari vessels faltered. The human fleet pressed the advantage, overwhelming the disorganized enemy. The battle concluded with a decisive victory, but Nate's mind was already on the next steps. Back on the bridge, Nate addressed his crew. "Excellent work, everyone. This victory gives us a momentary advantage, but we must stay vigilant. The Drakari won't rest until their objectives are achieved." Sarah approached, her voice low. "We've gathered more data from the wreckage. The Drakari are not acting alone. They have allies in the shadows, providing support and resources." Nate's expression hardened. "We need to identify and neutralize these allies. Prepare a reconnaissance mission. We'll uncover every hidden threat and dismantle this conspiracy piece by piece." As the fleet regrouped, Nate and Sarah studied the intelligence gathered from the battlefield. It was a complex web of intrigue and deception, but they were determined to unravel it. The next phase of their mission would require careful planning and bold action. In the quiet moments between battles, the crew of the Resolve found solace in their camaraderie and shared purpose. Each member played a crucial role, their contributions vital to the mission's success. Nate walked among them, offering words of encouragement and gratitude. Sarah joined him, her eyes reflecting the weight of their responsibilities. "We've come a long way, Nate, but the real challenge is just beginning." Nate nodded. "We'll face it together. No matter what the Drakari throw at us, we'll be ready. Our strength lies in our unity and resolve." The HMS Resolve and its fleet approached the coordinates where the Drakari presence had been detected. Commodore Nate Harper, standing on the bridge, could feel the weight of their mission. They were not only fighting to protect their territory, but also to unravel the mystery of the Drakari's ultimate plan. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Briggs brought up the latest reconnaissance data. "We've confirmed a Drakari base on the far side of this moon. It's heavily fortified and appears to be a central hub for their operations in this sector." Nate studied the holographic map, identifying strategic points. "We need to hit them hard and fast. A surgical strike to dismantle their command structure and gather intel on their broader strategy." The fleet moved into position, their stealth systems engaged to avoid early detection. As they closed in, the Drakari defenses activated, revealing an array of weaponry ready to repel any assault. Nate gave the order, and the first wave of fighters launched, targeting the defensive turrets. Explosions lit up the dark side of the moon as human and Drakari forces clashed. The Resolve spearheaded the assault, its advanced weaponry cutting through enemy lines. Sarah coordinated the attack, her tactical acumen critical in outmaneuvering the Drakari. As the battle raged, Nate received a transmission from the ground teams. "Commodore, we've breached the base perimeter. Resistance is fierce, but we're advancing." "Push forward," Nate replied. "We need to secure that command center." On the ground, the human soldiers fought with precision, each squad executing their part of the plan with military discipline. The Drakari, despite their formidable defenses, were caught off guard by the intensity and coordination of the human assault. The path to the command center was cleared through a combination of strategic strikes and relentless pressure. Inside the command center, Sarah's team encountered the Drakari commandant. He was a towering figure, exuding an air of calculated menace. The confrontation was swift and decisive, with the humans overpowering the Drakari officers and securing the control room. "We've got control, Commodore," Sarah reported. "Initiating data transfer now." As they extracted critical information from the Drakari systems, Nate analyzed the incoming data. What they found was alarming. The Drakari had been amassing resources and allies from various parts of the galaxy, preparing for a large-scale invasion that would destabilize not just the human territories, but the entire region. "Prepare all ships for immediate extraction," Nate ordered. "We need to return to the fleet with this intel and formulate a counter-strategy." The extraction was executed with precision, the human forces retreating under the cover of a coordinated bombardment that left the Drakari base in ruins. The fleet regrouped, the adrenaline of the mission giving way to a focused determination to counter the impending threat. Back aboard the Resolve, Nate and his senior officers convened to review the findings. The Drakari were planning to launch their invasion within weeks, targeting key strategic locations to cripple their adversaries and expand their dominion. "We have to warn our allies and consolidate our defenses," Nate said. "This invasion could change the balance of power in the galaxy. We need a united front to repel them." Sarah, her eyes scanning the data, added, "We also need to identify and neutralize their supply lines. Cutting off their resources will weaken their advance." As the fleet transmitted the intel to Allied forces, Nate reflected on the gravity of their situation. They were standing on the precipice of a major conflict, one that would test their resolve and unity. But he also saw the strength in their alliance, the potential to overcome even the most daunting challenges. The final preparations were made. Messages were sent out, rallying allies and coordinating a collective response. The fleet was put on high alert, every ship and soldier ready for the battles to come. Nate addressed his crew one last time before the expected confrontation. "We've faced many challenges together, and this may be the greatest yet. But we stand not just for ourselves, but for our allies and the future we believe in. Let's show the Drakari what it means to fight for that future."